bottoms out. And sometimes we feel when we watch Fox News, and I watch it religiously, and always Glenn Beck, you know.
I like old Glenn Beck.
That probably puts me in a category, but I do watch Glenn Beck.
You better get him some bodyguards.
They say he is heavily guarded. That's why
I didn't know that. I just thought he was.
His family has been threatened. Is the Congress, Senate, and are they aware of? Is there any plan for this debt? Is anybody thinking about it?
Oh yeah, we're thinking about it. A lot of them thinking about how to spend more they don't have. A lot of the majority right now are trying to spend more, including the president. And we don't have. They got a plan for you.
I doubt if I have a garment on that says "Made in the USA." I doubt it'll say China or India or somewhere.
And that's one of the risks. But we got to trade. But we ought to trade fairly. We ought to trade smartly. And everything. Let me talk to you. Ask some serious questions. Yeah. And it deserves a serious answer. I thought. Are we thinking about? Are we doing? Some of us are. Now let me tell you what it's going to take to bring spending in line. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal. And I don't know if anybody out there, all 100, who got the courage to do that yet. You know, do it right, but it's got to be done. And it's not just the current account, you know, we're dealing with each year. I don't mean export. I'm talking about our budget. We're talking about entitlements. Let's talk about Social Security. Social Security is a good program for my mother. She lived in the year 94. And it's good for anybody that's drawing it, and probably people that are getting ready to draw it for a while. But young people, like young people, don't ever think, my boys, I got 2 sons, they want their money right now. They don't see any of that. They said, Daddy, we can do better than that. They hope we can. We don't want that at all. The young people are not going to benefit from Social Security. But that is a third rail of politics. Right at the moment, you got a chart there. Yeah, let's just share this with you. I carry this. I use this dollar. You mentioned dollar a minute ago. Okay. Where your top tax dollar goes. Nearly $3 trillion in federal spending. Look at it. 21%, 21 cents on the dollar goes to Social Security. 21 cents national defense. Medicare, right up there too, 20%. Interest on the debt, non-defense, discretionary, and then miscellaneous. Look at these. Social Security and Medicare together, that's 41% of the budget.
Now that's the one he's going to cut the 11 cents.
Oh yeah, that
freeze, excuse me.
That one you won't even notice it. Because you exempt everything. And let's talk about Medicare too. Medicare and Medicaid, the 2 fastest growing things in our budget. Fastest growing. And they're people, you know, they affect people. And some of them, but they're underfunded. Social Security is underfunded. Actuarially, it doesn't work. For the young people, they know it. The young people, Terry, you're not going to get a cent. If you do, I'd be surprised. You know, but of Social Security, I don't mean it. But those are what the spending thing. Now this other spending is real too. You know what we're running big deficits. So we would have to have. I've seen some of the numbers. I forget exactly the numbers from the General Accounting Office, but we're running a deficit of like 50 or 60 trillion dollars right now. Actuarially projected. You know how you do the graphs down the road. And how do we deal with this? You know, our founding fathers, you go back and read the Federalist Papers sometime, you read, and you see, of course, I have a lot more respect for Alexander Hamilton. He wasn't a very good shot, was he? You know, he let the Vice President kill him with the deal. Maybe he didn't want to kill the Vice President, you know, like he was Secretary of Treasury. But he helped create the Senate. And why did they create the Senate? To kill the things that the House would pass for the moment, you know, for the long term. And who they give the longest terms of anybody in the government, other than the Federal Reserve? 6 years to the U.S. Senate. Federal Reserve not elected for 14 years. But the Senate was supposed to do these things the House couldn't do because of the pressure of the people. Now you've got pressure everywhere, don't you?
No, yeah.
And it's no easy, you ask a serious question, I'm trying to give you a serious answer. And I'm not giving you the answer because it's going to take more than the Congress. It's going to turn it around. And we're not talking about on the margin. We're talking about fundamentally change this country. We need to redo our income tax thing. We need to become savers and investors instead of spenders. Our economy, a lot of our economy is based on consumer spending. Our economy is based not the export. The German economy is based, and the Chinese economy, not on home consumption, but the export to create jobs and wealth for their own people. But we used to be that way. I know, and I use my mother and daddy because I care about my family, my mother and daddy, of all people. But they didn't have a lot, but they, during the Depression, they would save a little bit because they didn't have anybody to look at. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned the dollar a minute ago. Of course, some of you know better than I. But I remember when I was a student at the University of Alabama a few years back. You know what tuition was a semester? $67.50 a semester. Now, that's funny, but $67.50 was a lot of money. It was. You could buy a new car for $1,200. You remember all that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you could.
I mean, they didn't here carry a red lunch bucket to school back years ago. Didn't have no lunchroom. You carried it in a bucket, whatever you ate.
It's probably better food, too. I know some of those workers, I see them in the Capitol, man, taking those lunch bunches and they heat it up, man. Smells better than what I'm getting in that cafeteria there. You know, they're bringing whatever they had, their wife fixed them, and it's a lot better than what we had. But I'm just thinking of the erosion of the dollar. The dollar, you mentioned, what's the dollar? You know, we don't barter, we don't trade a horse for a cow. We don't do this, and our monetary policy is based on what, bank? Trust. Confidence in it.
Oh, yeah.
Confidence and trust. And we print so much money, and it's out there. Then it's become valued. The Germans knew that. They learned that. That's what came after the First World War. They hyperinflated their economy and printed the money and brought on Adolf Hitler, didn't they?
Yeah.
Brought on the war and everything else. They're not going down that road, I don't believe. Do you? Tough. And we got to learn, I guess the bottom line, if I were the czar, I wouldn't want to be king. You wouldn't want me to be either. We don't want that. But the czar of Russia for 500 years had more power than any king.